Halo teman-teman, apa kabar? Welcome back to lesson 2. So, I'm gonna go ahead and re-record this. This is the third time that I've done this. So the first time I did it, there was no mic. The second time, the mic was terrible. So the third time, hopefully this is going to work. This whole unit and this whole lesson is going to be about ordering food and getting fed and building one of the most important building blocks to making friends and making relationships in Indonesia. So by the end of this whole unit, you will be able to do and you will have mastered how to order food in Indonesian. You'll know all of the basic vocabulary that you need to order food. You'll be able to order food according to your tastes, so sweet, spicy, not sweet. Those are really the only two flavors that you have in Indonesian. It's good though. You're going to know some very important cultural insights to Indonesia and Indonesian society. You'll be able to talk about what you like and what you don't like, and then you'll be able to use verbs in the present, past, and future. And don't worry, there are no tenses. I promise it's not that hard. All right, we're going to start off with a cultural note. Woohoo! So, Indonesian people love food. And food is something that you can talk about with every single Indonesian. It's a very, very good icebreaker. So you can talk about food from your country, food from Indonesia, anything food related, Indonesians will want to talk about. One disclaimer though, if you talk to Muslim people, I highly recommend you don't talk about pork or bedua, which is daging babi. Pork meat is haram in Muslim culture, and a lot of Muslim people are very put off by the thought of eating pork or the thought of pigs on their table or in their kitchen. So anything but pork is 100% game. And Indonesians will always want to go out and get a meal or get a drink, usually sometimes before they go shopping or even at work before they really start to work. So it's a really good way to build relationships with people and get to know people better. Go out, spend time, build those relationships before you do activities with them, and you're going to have the best trip of your life. And there's always room for ice cream. So you can always bring up the topic of ice cream with Indonesians. They love ice cream. And if you go to a convenience store and you talk to your Indonesian friends and hey, I'm getting an ice cream, do you want one? That small gesture of getting them an ice cream is huge to building a relationship with them. So there's always room for ice cream. They will never turn you down. And it's a really, really cool thing to do. That was a terrible pun. All right, so we're going to go over the 2 verbs and the 1 noun that we were just talking about in Indonesian. Okay, so our 2 verbs, makan and minum. Makan means eat or ate or eaten. Minum can mean drink, drank, or drunk. So this brings up 2 very important points about Indonesian and the Indonesian language. First, Indonesian verbs do not have tenses. So in English, we have verb tenses that show when an action happens. In Indonesian, they don't use this. They use adverbs. I'll explain about that in just a second. And then Indonesian verbs also do not generally have a command form. So in English, we just say eat, go, play, jump, swim, fight, study. All these words that everybody hates, right? You just say the verb one time. In Indonesian, you might hear the word makan, and it could be a command. It could also be, I'm going to eat. It could also be a suggestion that you should eat. And if it comes from Ibu, then it's probably a command. It's just how Ibu rolls. And then for our noun, we have makanan. Makanan, which means food. And this is just a big catch-all broad category of food. So makan, verb eat, makanan is food. You got the same word right here as the base for both of these. And then you add the suffix an, which means thing, and it turns it into kind of like a thing that you eat. So, thing that you eat, food. And then some other vocabulary words we'll just go over real quick. Nasi means cooked rice or a meal. Kopi, which means coffee, and teh, which means tea. Indonesian does not have countable and uncountable nouns like English does, just has nouns, and you understand how the noun is countable or uncountable based on the context. And then we have meals. So you'll recognize right here, makan, which means to eat, right? Makan pagi. Remember, selamat pagi is good morning, so makan pagi is breakfast. And then we have makan siang, lunch, makan malam, dinner, and then selamat makan, which means enjoy your meal or eat up. It's a very, very nice, kind way to tell someone to have a good meal or have a good lunch right before they eat. So it's very, very simple. It's a very simple language after you build a base. And if you learn probably 800 to 1,000 words, you can pretty much be fluent. And I mean, look, here you have makan, and then from this single word of makan, food, and then you can also have meals. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you take your greetings that you learned from the other lesson, and you have a bunch of stuff. So you don't have to learn a lot to be able to do a lot. It's a very, very cool and simple language. And then, you know things happen in Indonesian based on adverbs and context. So I brought this up just a second ago. But if somebody says makan, 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 minum, minum, minum. You understand based on their context and the intonation in their voice and what's kind of going on in the room to know whether this person is suggesting something or saying you should do it, or they did it before, they're doing it now, or they will do it after. Okay? Just read the room and relax, and you're good to go. All right, and then so here is a really, really quick conversation. So this is from my first night at my permanent site in Pangandaran. So I'm hanging out with the local imam. We are having dinner. So makan malam di rumah Pak Soleh. So I'm using Pak because he is a man. I could also say Pak Haji Soleh because he went on his Hajj. So that's another title. If you speak to someone who is Muslim, they may be called Pak Haji or Bu Haji, meaning they've been on Hajj. That's a very big deal for them. So, without further ado, nama saya Dave. Nama dia Pak Soleh. So Pak Soleh, Mr. Pak Soleh. Selamat malam, Dave. Makan, makan. So he's just going to say makan to me. And then, what does he mean? Is he saying to me, you have to eat all of this? Or is he saying something like, oh, let's eat, or you should eat, or I'm going to eat? You've got to understand the situation and kind of what's going on. And best way to do this is to spend time and make Indonesian friends, because the more you do this, the more the language will make sense, and the cultural aspects of the language and the context will all just kind of mesh together. So, I think he's saying, let's eat. Makan nasi. And that's a very, very natural sentence. So people will say, oh, makan nasi. So literally, he's saying, eat rice. Eat rice. And if he's asking it in a question, that means, oh, to me, do you eat rice? Would you like to eat rice? How about some rice? All of these could be what it means. So you've got to kind of filter through and go, oh, okay, makan nasi, question. He's asking me, do I eat rice? Do I want rice? So this is nasi right here, cooked rice. And then I'm thinking, okay, do you want rice? Makan nasi. So if he says, oh, makan nasi really strongly, then he's saying, oh, you have to eat the rice. And this is something that you will hear if you go to an Indonesian's house. It's not going to be mean, but they're going to do everything they can to fill you up and make sure that you get all of the food that you want to eat. So, oh, no, I'm gonna be force-fed. Context in Indonesian is so important. So keep all of this in mind when you hear a couple of words in Bahasa Indonesia. Take a step back, detach from the situation a little bit, and just think about it contextually. It'll make a lot more sense. And then later that night, so that same night, let's just imagine. So come back to my host family's house. Here I am. And we have a couple of adverbs in Indonesian. Okay? We have sudah and belum. These are two very, very important adverbs in Indonesian. Sudah means already done, already happened, finished. It happened in the past. So now, sekarang, sudah means it's back here somewhere. Belum means not yet, or it hasn't happened yet, or it's going to happen in the future. And belum does not show intention is the key. So belum shows did not happen. Maybe it will, maybe not. We don't know. We have no control over the future. So my host mom is going to go, oh, peace, sudah makan. So sudah is in the past. Sudah makan. Did you eat in the past? Did you eat earlier tonight? Yeah, sudah makan ibu. And then remember, I'm saying ibu to show respect because she is my host mom and because she is a mother and she is female. Makan apa? So makan apa? And she's not saying, did you eat what or what, do you eat? You have to understand through the context, makan apa. We're still talking about this same day, makan apa. So makan nasi dan sate. Sate is meat on a stick, and then you guys saw nasi. Sate is like chicken skewers or goat meat skewers. It's absolutely delicious. If you have a chance to try it, you have to try it when you're down there, if you eat meat. Minum apa? So exactly the same thing. Minum apa, except not makan, minum. So minum is drink, right? What did you drink? Minum teh. So most Indonesians will drink tea several times a day and also coffee several times a day. Ibu sudah makan belum? So I'm asking her now, right now, sudah makan? In the past, did you eat? Or belum? Did you not eat yet? Sudah makan? Belum makan? Sudah makan nasi dan tempe. So nasi, you guys know. Tempe is a fermented bean cake. They're very, very delicious. And I'm kind of surprised they're not popular here in the States. It's kind of like tofu, but it's kind of not. I like it, but a lot of people don't. Context, again, is so important when you're talking about actions and when you're talking to Indonesians. Take a step back and try to think about the context of what's going on in a situation. It makes it a lot easier to understand. And it's just practice. It'll take probably a couple of days or maybe even a couple of weeks, but once it clicks, it's easy. All right, and then now we're going to do a little bit more food vocabulary. So, we learned this word already, makan, right? And makanan. So makanan, Indonesia. This is Bandara, Indonesia. Bandara, Indonesia, yang ini. Okay? Nasi, we have cooked rice or a meal. And we also have some other staple foods in Indonesia. So nasi is the main one. There's also mie, which means noodles, roti, bread, and kentang, which is potato. So these are staple foods in Indonesia. Excuse me. And then here are some other very important food vocabulary words. So porsi is a portion of something. Porsi, portion. Piring is a plate. So satu piring is a plate, also mean a portion or the actual thing that you eat off of. And then soto means soup. And then here are some proteins in Indonesian. Daging is meat. Daging, meat. Then you have sapi, cow, ayam, chicken. Kambing is goat or lamb, but it's usually goat. And then this word right here, daging, you combine it with these words. So daging sapi, daging meat, sapi cow, meat of a cow is beef. So daging sapi is beef. Daging ayam is chicken, and daging kambing is lamb. All right? Then we have other proteins. Kacang, remember the C is pronounced like a CH. Kacang is bean. Tahu, tofu. Tempe is tempeh. Ikan is fish. And bakso, meatballs. If you are in Indonesia and you see bakso or baso, be very, very careful. Obama said he loves bakso and it's delicious, but you have to be careful because you can get very sick. I've been sick from it, and some of the other people in Peace Corps were sick from it. So don't have bakso as your first meal, and make sure you get it from a place where they cook the meatballs well and the meatballs are stored well. And then last, we have vegetables, okay? The word for vegetables is sayuran. Sayuran is vegetables. Cabe, or hot chili peppers. Chapchai. Chapchai is like a stir fry with carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, and garlic. And then kangkung. And this is one of my favorite foods. Kangkung is like a water spinach, is what it was in English. I've never actually had this. I've only had it in Southeast Asia, but I love it. It's really delicious. All right, and then this last one, I had to cut myself out because my face was blocking it. We have fruits. So the word for fruit in Indonesian is buah. Buah. And then we have just two. Pisang, banana, pisang, and then kelapa. Kelapa means coconut. You'll see lots more when you're down there, but these are two of the main ones that you'll see virtually everywhere. And they have fruits and fruit flavors like apple and strawberry. I'm guessing you already knows what those are. All right, so we're gonna go over some basic sentence structure in Indonesian. The basic structure is subject, verb, object. So it's exactly the same as in English, exactly the same. So we have a sentence in Indonesian, saya makan apel. Saya makan apel. You can translate this in English to any one of these sentences. So I eat apples, or I eat an apple, or I eat the apples, or I eat the apple. Or it could be in past tense. I ate apples, I ate an apple, I ate the apples, I ate the apple. So Indonesian is very, very contextual, and I've talked about this a lot, but I just want you to really, really please be aware. So much of this language is contextual, and what's going on in the background is so important. So you have to build relationships and talk to people to really understand what's going on. And even then, you still probably won't know because they probably won't know. So it's just a very different way of doing things and of traveling and of experiencing life, but it's very, very cool and very rewarding if you go for it. All right, so now we're gonna practice a little bit and repeat the example conversation just a couple of times. So, Pak, sudah makan? You can just repeat it to yourself. You can say it out loud, say it quietly. Pak, sudah makan? So, he has not eaten yet. Belum makan. And then, Bu, ibu, sudah makan? She also has not eaten yet. So what is she going to say? Belum makan. And Kiki, my host brother, Kiki, Sudah makan? Not yet. Belum. Belum makan. And I'm thinking, why not? Mengapa? Mengapa belum makan? Oh yeah, it's Ramadan. Ding, ding, ding. I forgot. So, Ramadan is a fasting month and it lasts for about 40 days. It changes every year based on the lunar calendar. And Muslims all around the world will fast. In Indonesia, they'll also do it in the Middle East. If you're traveling through the Middle East, I went through Qatar this year during Ramadan and it was very, very challenging. It was very hard to find food, and even just a store that was open, Filipino shops, saved me. It was so nice having some good Filipino food and some good cold water. But there's no eating or no drinking during the day, generally in Muslim Indonesian households. Not going to say always, because women are allowed to at specific times of the month, but everybody else does at night. And also if you're sick or if you are nursing, then yes, please eat and get healthy and get better before you continue to fast, because it can be very, very hard on your body. All right, so this is Bu Ade, Bu Ade. And you have just arrived at Bu Ade's canteen. So, selamat siang, selamat siang. And then she's gonna ask you something. Something, something, makan, something, makan. So, what is she asking you? Something makan? Sudah makan, belum makan, sudah makan, selamat makan. What is she asking you? She's asking you, sudah makan, sudah makan. And what does that mean? Sudah makan? Have you eaten yet? Have you had lunch yet? So she's asking you, do you want something to eat? Sudah bu? Yeah, sudah makan. Sudah makan apa? Sudah makan apa? So before, in the past, already, makan, eat, or ate, what? Already ate what? What did you eat already? What did you have? Sudah makan meja, sampah, anjing, or nasi? And there's only one answer here that is correct. The other three are generally not good to eat. And it's your vocabulary word. What word is that? Nasi. So how would we say that to her? Sudah makan nasi, right? Sudah makan nasi, ibu. Sudah makan nasi. And then she, being ibu, is going to go, okay, great, bagus, bagus. Tambah lagi, tambah lagi. And tambah lagi means take more. Tambah is like take, lagi is like one more time. So take another scoop of rice. Keep eating, because you have to eat. That's just how Indonesian ibu-ibu act and are. All right, and then here's a really quick review. So key phrase, belum makan, belum makan. I haven't eaten yet can mean I'm hungry, or sudah makan, I already ate, I'm not hungry. And then here the subject, I, could be anybody. Could be me, could be you, could be him, could be us, could be them. We don't know, because generally the subject here is understood through context. So depends all on how this is said. If it's said as a question, then you're asking someone, oh, belum makan? Have you eaten yet? Or sudah makan? Yes, I already ate. Okay? And the two words for hungry and full in Indonesian, hungry is lapar, lapar, and full is kenyang, kenyang. Very, very important words. And don't give up. If this is challenging, go back, spend some time practicing on a forum, or find a local language partner or someone on a chat app to practice with, and practice makes perfect. Keep studying, and terima kasih. Oh, teman-teman! My face is back in the corner. I had forgotten that I'd moved it. Minta maaf, yeah? So, glad to be back. Oh, you're glad to be back, and we're gonna start the second part of this lesson, okay? But first, you have a pop quiz. Pop quiz time. Are you ready? 5 easy questions. Promise it's not gonna be very hard, and you've got this. It's nothing new. Don't want to trick you, don't want to confuse you, just want to help you understand what your weak points are so you can master them and get this language down so you have the best trip of your life. Sudah shows that an event has happened. Is this true or false? Sudah shows something that happened, so a past event. True, right? It's true. And which of these is a food? Which is a food? Kursi, nasi, batu, or pasir? Recommend only trying to eat one of these. The other ones you will probably not like very much. This one is nasi, right? Kursi is a chair, batu is a rock or a stone, and pasir is sand. All right, next. How many verb tenses does Indonesian have? 0, 2, 5, or 1? How many tenses? None. 0. Not one tense. So, what topic do they like to talk about? This is from the very beginning of the lesson. They like to talk about economics, life on Mars, politics, or food. Which topic do Indonesians love to talk about? 100% always safe, and something that you will be able to use to build relationships and have really, really cool friendships and go to people's houses and get to spend time with them, meet their families. Food, right? And also talk about some of these. Life on Mars, economics is kind of boring for most people. Politics can be very, very touchy, especially now. So food is always the safe topic. And then, how do you understand when things happen in Indonesian if there are no verb tenses? So, stuff doesn't happen. Is it only context? Is it context and adverbs? Or is it only adverbs? How do you understand when stuff happens? So it's context and adverbs. So you need to use both of them to understand what's going on. And if you don't understand right away, no problem. You'll figure it out. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself time. If you got all 5, you're doing really, really well. Keep going. If you got a few, you're making big progress. And if you got 1 or 2, keep going. Don't give up. Keep practicing, and you will learn Bahasa Indonesia. You're much farther than you were when you started, and you've made incredible progress. Semangat. All right, we're going to start this off with a cultural note. And I'm going to look here. You probably recognize all of these words. I hope you do anyway. So belum, nasi, belum, makan. And if you say this to someone in Indonesia and you're a foreigner, they're going to be shocked. I'm serious. They will be absolutely shocked, and they will be so happy because this is real Indonesian culture right here. And it's so simple. Grammar's simple, the vocabulary is simple, and the concept is kind of simple too. So we're going to take the whole thing apart, right? Belum, nasi, belum, makan. Right? So belum, we learned something that has not happened yet. It's a future action. So future and future. So belum, not yet. We learned nasi, right? Nasi means rice. Not yet. Eat, ate, or eaten. So not yet rice, have not yet eaten. So this is a very, very important phrase for Indonesians. And it means if you haven't eaten rice yet, then you haven't eaten yet. So you should have rice at every single meal. Otherwise, you have not eaten. Rice is so important to Indonesians and to their culture. They will eat rice generally 3 times a day. And if you don't have rice and you have cereal for breakfast, they will be absolutely shocked and be, how can you eat cereal? That is garbage. It is garbage. You have to eat rice because rice is what keeps you full. Belum nasi, belum makan. All right, so if you visit Indonesia, chances are if you leave a resort in Bali or if you're going from the airport to your resort, you will see a warung, And a warung is generally a small shop, could be a restaurant, could be a convenience store, could be a place where they sell food and prepackaged stuff, as well as there's somebody usually in the back cooking rice or cooking some sort of meal. This is the lifeblood of the local Indonesian economy. So a lot of them are small mom and pop shops, and they're run by families or small neighborhoods. And generally, it's where locals will go and spend time either before work or during work or after work, just to kind of gossip and hang out and spend time together. So this is a video right here about food, makanan, at a warung.
Sekarang pertama makanan berhitung, kita makan sama-sama makan pandang. Kami. Halo ini kami. Ya. Ini orang keren sama orang baik sekali. Iya. Sini warung di Belitung. Ayo, waktu makan.
So you might have noticed a couple of things. So this was in Belitung. Belitung is a small little island. Oops, let me see if I can get that to work. Belitung is an island way up here. So I lived down here in Java, and I came up here on vacation. This was in 2018, I believe, when I went to Belitung. I was living in Korea at the time. So I went to Belitung, and I met Tommy, this guy, at the airport, and was just walking around, and I was asking people, where do I get the bus, or where can I get an angkot? And he was shocked that there's a foreigner who speaks Bahasa Indonesia. So he invited me to go and have lunch with him. And this is a very, very common thing. If you meet local people and you speak Indonesian, they will be so happy. They want you to go out and have the best experience in their country, and they want you to try the food and go out and just experience the best of Indonesia. So we went to a small warung, a small shop, and had lunch together. And the food was really good. And if you go to a warung, generally they will give you a small bowl like this. So the small bowl is for washing your hands. The water might be clean, it's generally pretty clean, but always have some sort of hand sanitizer or wipes, especially if you're going to eat with your hands, as most Indonesians do. So highly recommend, if you have a chance, go to a warung, check out the food, but make sure it's hot and make sure it's fresh. Because if it's not, then you may get sick. Be careful, go give it a shot if you're feeling comfortable, and if you're not, then don't chance it, don't ruin your trip. And then here are a couple more warung. So warung, small shops. These are warung di in Pangandaran. So this is where I lived, and I did my Peace Corps here, di Pangandaran. This is at a park near Batu Hiu. It's a really cool place that you should check out if you go down there. And then this is another warung di Belitung. So just a local cafe, restaurant. And generally, if you go to a warung and there are people there, then the food is generally safe. If there's nobody there and the owner is sitting there and he's fighting the flies, then it's probably not a good idea to go. So lots of people is a good sign that the food and the warung are safe. But can't make any promises or can't make any guarantees. Just check before and do your best to prepare in case you get sick. And then this is another warung. So warung Mbah Warsi. This is my host grandmother from Malang in East Java. And this was her little warung. So she had lots of various products that she would sell. Most Indonesian families or most villages will have at least one or two of these that they will set up shop and they will sell stuff to the neighbors, so they don't have to go all the way to a convenience store or go someplace else. And it keeps money in the local economy, and even though they're not making a lot of profit, still it's a little bit of money where they can take the money that they got from their neighbors and they can go buy food, or they can pay the electric bill or do something like that. Okay? It's kind of a different economic situation than we have in the States or in the West, but they're doing the best that they can with what they have. And then for some food at warungs and local meals. So if you go to a warung, you will have the opportunity to try local food, and I've talked about it a little bit, but this is a meal called karedok, and it's vegetables with a peanut sauce and then hot tea. And this is a warung. This is Bu Ade. You maybe remember her from a couple of slides ago, but she has her warung in Pangandaran. So they sell like laundry detergent and soap and coffee and noodles and phone credit and pretty much anything that you could need. Cigarettes, if you smoke. So pretty much anything that you would need in the village you can buy at a warung. Locals pretty much live off of these places. And they're very, very local, as I talked about. And the atmosphere, if you go to one, is kind of like Starbucks in a way, where it's kind of the third place for a lot of people. So after work or after school, kids will sometimes come by and they'll have like a sweet drink. Adults will go by usually in the morning or maybe in the middle of the day to have a coffee. Bapaks, men will have a smoke. And they'll mostly just sit around and spend a couple of hours talking and chatting with each other. Some big differences though. Biggest is probably cleanliness. So some warungs are very, very filthy, and they are full of maybe animals. You might have a chicken running around, you might have cats running around, you might see a mouse, and it's just very different from what we have in the West. Menus also generally very different, where they might have just one or two items. The food's generally very good, but the menu's generally limited because they don't have a lot of the ingredients that we have in the West. A lot of people will smoke as well in warungs, especially men. There's a group of adults, usually one or two will light up and then the rest of them will light up, so it can be a little bit uncomfortable if people are smoking. There's also not air conditioning generally. Some may not have fans, some do. It all just depends on where you are. And then these are very, very inexpensive generally. So if you want to get a meal, you'll probably pay no more than 15 to 20,000 rupiah, so it's about $1 for a full meal. That's expensive. On a cheaper side, maybe anywhere from 12 to maybe 15,000. This is the lifeblood of the local economies. And this is where real business and real relationships are built. So you go to a warung with somebody and you sit down, you have a meal with them, or you have coffee or tea. This is where you really get to make an impact, and this is where you really get to learn about the person. You can have a long conversation and practice your Indonesian, and it's a really, really cool experience. And I highly recommend if you go, give it a shot. You don't have to eat, just go and try it. And it's completely, completely life-changing. All right, so now grammar time. All right, so boleh, minta, and silakan. So these are three key words in Indonesian. And if you use boleh and minta, you're gonna get huge smiles. People will be super happy to hear somebody saying boleh and minta to them. Boleh is a question word, and it's usually used at the beginning of a sentence. Boleh saya is like saying may I, and boleh is used to ask for some sort of permission to do something. So boleh saya makan is like may I eat, or am I allowed to eat? It's used to make some sort of a request, so you're requesting permission. Minta is used to request something from somebody else. So minta es krim is like you're saying, I want ice cream. I would like you to give me some ice cream. Okay? Minta maaf, I'm requesting that you will excuse me or that you will forgive me. And usually, the reply is silakan. Silakan, which means go ahead, go for it, dig in, come on in, help yourself. And it's a verb. It's like saying, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead. Minta is also a verb, and silakan is a verb. And then, when you want to request something from someone else, you put boleh and minta together. So, here's a really good example. I'm going to stop for a second and pause it, and we'll do another quick video. So, when you're requesting something from somebody else, you can put boleh and minta together. It's a very, very polite and kind way to ask for something. So, minta maaf, minta maaf. Remember, minta is request. Maaf is like sorry or kind of please forgive me. So, please excuse me is probably the easiest translation. Boleh saya makan? Boleh saya makan? It's a very polite and very careful way of asking, can I have something to eat? Or could I have something to eat? Boleh, boleh is generally the request, or the response, I should say, to your request. And then getting a little bit closer, walking up to the food. Permisi. Permisi is what you say when you're walking by somebody and you need to create a little bit of space. Permisi. And then we have these 4 foods. So we're going to have lunch. Ayo makan nasi, dan makan ayam, dan makan tempe, dan timun. And timun is cucumber, in case you can't tell. So, boleh, let's try to put a sentence together. Boleh, subject, verb, object. So, how would we make a sentence? Boleh, subject, what's our subject pronoun? What's our verb? And then what's our object? Boleh, saya, right? Me, saya, I, saya, boleh saya. Then our verb, minta, minta, request, or you could say minta makan, boleh saya makan is also okay. Nasi, boleh saya minta nasi, right? So, may, or could I please have some rice? Boleh, yes, go ahead. Boleh saya makan nasi as well, perfectly fine. Boleh saya makan ayam? Boleh, perfectly fine. Boleh saya makan tempe? Boleh saya makan this? Ini? Boleh saya makan ayam? Timun? Boleh. Boleh, 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 boleh. Makan as much as you want. Makan dan tambah lagi. Pak, sambal. So, sambal is spicy sauce. She's asking, do you want spicy sauce? Or would you like spicy sauce? Boleh. So, boleh. Please. So, boom. Here's our lunch right here. We have nasi, ayam, tempe, timun, and sambal. All of them together. Enak. Delicious. Alright, so we're going to go through and walk you through literally about how to use boleh and minta. So, let's say you're with locals and they're starting to have lunch and you want to go up and grab something to eat with them. So, first thing, minta maaf, minta maaf. That's like saying, excuse me, please. Boleh saya makan, boleh saya makan. And this is kind of a way, way, way polite, but it's still a very nice thing to say, just to go, I would like something to eat, instead of just showing up and taking it. So, boleh, they'll be super happy. Yes, you're being polite. Yes, you want to eat something. Awesome, please, come on up. So, as you make your way, and you walk past people, you should say permisi, permisi. And that's like saying excuse me, permisi. Okay? Permisi. Then when you get up closer to the food, you have your choices. So nasi, ayam, tempe, and then this is one that we haven't learned, timun. Timun is a cucumber. And then you've got to put a sentence together. So try to put a sentence together using boleh and minta and some of these words right here. Okay? So remember, the structure in Indonesian is subject, verb, object. And then minta is going to be one of your verb choices. There's another verb choice too that you can use that we just studied a couple of slides ago. But how are we going to put this together? So boleh, saya, right? Boleh I, me, my, mine, saya, boleh saya, minta, request, or could I get from you nasi? Boleh saya minta nasi? Could I please get some rice? Could I please take some rice? Boleh, pasti boleh. Boleh saya makan nasi? You can also say that. Boleh saya makan nasi? Can I eat some rice? Either one is fine. Okay? Boleh saya minta nasi? Boleh saya makan nasi? If you're getting any kind of food from anywhere and it's kind of a community style like this, generally how Indonesians eat, boleh saya makan whatever food. You're set. Okay? Boleh saya makan ayam? Boleh. Pasti. Go right ahead. Boleh saya makan tempe? Boleh saya makan timun? Boleh, 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 boleh. Take as much as you want. Take it all. Pak, sambal. And sambal is a spicy sauce. So it's kind of a spicy chili paste that they will have with most of their food. And then you can say boleh, like please, please give me some chili. And then here is your plate right here. You have everything. Ayam, nasi, sambal, tempe, and timun, cucumbers. This is lunch, and this is how you order or get lunch with a group of Indonesians. You say just these quick phrases, you will impress everybody, and people will be incredibly happy that you're trying to use Bahasa Indonesia. All right, and then here is an example conversation. All right, Ibu Yupaika, Ibu Yupaika, my host mom from Batu. So it's lunchtime. Remember, lunchtime, there's a specific greeting at lunch. So if you aren't sure, you forgot, go back and check that greeting really quick. Stop the slide and check that greeting. Got to do the greeting first. Always, always, always do your greeting first in Indonesian before you do anything. Always greet the person. It's kind of like France. If you don't, it's kind of rude. Selamat siang, selamat siang. She'll do that also. So, selamat siang Bu, apa kabar? Selamat siang, apa kabar? Kabar baik. And you don't have to ask apa kabar, but still, it's very polite and it's very friendly. Makan apa? So, makan apa? Makan apa? So it's contextual. She's asking you now, right now, what do you want to eat? What are you going to have? Now, try to use boleh. Okay? Boleh, something, something, something. And then she's got bakso down here. So we're going to roll the dice and we're going to have bakso today. Boleh, subject, verb, object. Boleh saya makan bakso or boleh saya minta bakso. Either one is okay. Boleh, yes, that's fine. Selamat makan. So boom, she gives you your bakso. Selamat makan. Now, your turn to say thank you. Here's bakso. And then how do we say thank you? Terima kasih, right? Terima kasih. And then bakso has some other foods in it generally. So mie usually has noodles. And then tahu, tofu, daun bawang, and then the meatballs themselves, bakso. Okay, so this is like kind of a green onion, a daun bawang. And it's a very delicious meal. Just make sure you get it from a reputable place because you do not want to get sick and get food poisoning. And then after you've eaten, it's time to pay. So in Indonesia, this is a cultural note right here. When you're finished, you put your fork and your spoon and you cross them on your plate. It signals that you're finished. So it's maybe strange to us, but in Indonesia that shows that you enjoyed the meal and you're full. So how do you say some sort of a request in Indonesian? We need to make a request. So bakso, maaf, minta, or makan. Minta. And then who sings Living on a Prayer? Bon Jovi, Madonna, Metallica, or Makan? Probably thinking, what? This guy is on crack. He's crazy. I have no idea what he's doing. Trust me on this. Minta bon, right? Minta bon. Minta bon. We got Bon Jovi. Yes, Bon Jovi showed up in Indonesia and he's super popular. Everybody loves Bon Jovi. So if you go, oh, minta bon, and you play Bon Jovi, people will laugh and think you're probably nuts. At least they do to me. But bon is this thing right here. This is your bon, not Bon Jovi. So you say minta bon. Most of the time somebody's going to give you this, a bill with all of the totals and all of the amounts that you have to pay for your food. So yeah, silakan, here you go, time to pay up. All right, and with that, we're gonna go over another cultural note, just touched on it a little bit deeper. So if you go to somebody's house or you go to a warung and you're done eating, all you have to do is put your fork and your spoon, if you have a knife too, you can put the knife on there, put everything on the plate and make an X or make a cross. And this shows that you are finished eating and that you enjoyed the food. They'll probably still try to get you to eat a little bit more, but you do this, you signal, I'm done, I'm full, I give up. And you can always say, sudah kenyang. So sudah, past, kenyang means I'm full. Saya sudah kenyang. I already ate enough and I'm feeling good. Terima kasih, that's it. Sudah kenyang, terima kasih, and you're set to go. And then practice makes perfect. Keep studying, keep practicing, and your Bahasa Indonesia will continue to improve. Semangat dan selamat belajar. All right, teman-teman, we're gonna start 2.3, drinks and drinking. Ayo minum. Yeah, let's go have something to drink. So, we're gonna start off with a cultural note, and kopi dulu. Kopi dulu. Okay. So, Indonesians love coffee. And kopi dulu is kind of like saying, oh, but first coffee. So, anything that you do in Indonesia, generally if you go shopping or you're doing work or you're going to work on your motorcycle or you're going to get married or I don't know, maybe if you go to jail, I don't know. Never been, don't want to go. But you could probably say kopi dulu and you get your last kopi before you don't get any more for a while. So Indonesians always have coffee before they make a decision. They'll generally sit down, they'll have a coffee, they'll kind of relax for a little bit, and it's just part of the culture. So if you're in a rush to get anything done and you're trying to get things just as quickly as possible and trying to get task after task after task after task done, take a step back and make sure that you do kopi dulu. So you need to try to build those relationships with your friends, with your colleagues, and with the locals because that's how you're going to get things done. Is if you have a strong relationship, that's the foundation of you and that person liking each other instead of the task, then you're going to be much more energized, and that person's going to be much more energized to get the thing done. And take your time getting to know the person, and just understand that life is much slower paced and life is much more based on relationships there than it is here in the West. So, Kopi dulu. And then here we're going to have some vocabulary words. Okay, drinking vocabulary. So we learned makan, right? So makan means to eat. Minum means to drink. And masak means to cook, right? Minuman, we have this right here on, the suffix. We saw it earlier with makanan. Minuman is a drink or a beverage. So these are all minuman. Teh, tea, kopi, coffee, juice, air is water, aqua or air minuman is bottled water. Most people will just say aqua, that's the name brand, aqua. You can go to any store and say aqua, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about. Susu means milk. Kelapa muda is a young coconut, so one of the green coconuts. You go to Bali or you go to the beach, you can get a kelapa muda. Bir is a beer, and anggur is wine, or it can also be grape juice. Usually it's wine. And if you And then now we have another quick review about this an right here. So this suffix an makes a thing. So masak means to cook. Masakan is cooking, thing that you cook, cooking. Makanan, thing that you eat, food. Minuman, thing that you drink. Hope that makes sense. All right, we're gonna do another quick review. We're gonna practice using boleh and minta again one more time, because when you order a drink, you use exactly the same grammatical structure that you do when you order food. Just change the object. All you're doing. So, back to buade, minum apa. Remember before, she asked something else. She didn't ask minum. What word did she use? She used makan. So, makan apa? What do you want to eat? Minum apa means, what do you want to drink? So, boleh, right here, same structure as before. Boleh, saya, may I, or could I. And then you use, instead of eat, you use drink. Minum, boleh saya minum. And then, whatever object. Teh, boleh saya minum teh. Boleh saya minum kopi. Boleh saya minum bir. Boleh saya minum anggur. Boleh saya minum jus. All of those. All you're doing is changing the verb and then the object. Boleh saya, may I. Boleh. But mungkin bir tidak boleh with buade. But in Bali, boleh. Boleh saya, you can also use minta here. Minta, aqua. Boleh saya minta aqua. Boleh, yes, of course. And then if you go to someone's house for a drink, they will generally ask you for kopi or a tea. And you use exactly the same structure to ask for a drink. So this is my host brother, Fian, in Malang. In this example, Fian is going to be a new friend. So I've met a new friend. He invites me to his house, and we're hanging out. So his mother or his dad, or maybe he, is going to say, oh, Mister, minum apa? Minum apa? And then, trying to be polite, boleh, and then something, something, something. Boleh saya minum atau makan? What are we going to use? Minum or makan? We're going to use minum, right? Boleh saya minum, and then minuman. So instead of minuman, you would say teh or kopi. Because generally Indonesians have those two drinks at their house, kopi or tea. Boleh, 99.9% of the time, they'll always answer back with boleh. Yes, of course. Fian, minum apa? Minum teh, bu. So Fian's going to have teh. And then when you get the drink, make sure you thank your host or your hostess. So his mom or his sister or grandmother, father, whoever is coming over with your drink. Terima kasih, bu. That's it. And then next, Indonesian homes. So this is a little bit more about culture. So if you visit someone's home, generally homes in Indonesia are more simple, but cukup. And cukup is a very common word in Indonesian, and it means enough or sufficient. It's kind of hard to translate this concept into English because we generally strive for more or strive for better, strive for the best. Cukup is just, it's good enough and it meets the standard. Kind of like C's get degrees, but for a lot of other things. If you go to someone's house in Indonesia, you might see bugs, you might see lizards, you might see cats, mice, you might see chickens, especially in the villages. And it's not that they're not able to do anything about it, it's that it's generally not a big deal. If you're in a house and you have lizards in the house, lizards are your friend. They're going to eat all the mosquitoes, and they're going to keep you from getting sick. If you have cats, then the cats are going to eat the mice, and that's going to keep you from getting sick. So people generally will have sometimes critters running around in the villages, but it's just part of life in the village. Cukup. So cukup was actually the first word of Indonesian that I learned. And this was my room during training. So I had a bed and this bug net, itu cukup. And then this is my host family's house in Pangandaran during my 2 years. I lived with them, Pak Ade, Bu Anik. And their house was not massive, but it was definitely cukup. Had everything that you need and lots of kind people and good experiences. So it was the first word that I learned in Indonesian, cukup was. And my host mom in Malang showed me this right here. And she was pointing to the bed and she was like, oh, cukup. I had no idea what she meant and I thought cukup was bed. So for a long time I thought cukup was bed. And then I learned after I learned the language that, bed is tempat tidur, sleeping place, and cukup means good enough. So she was asking me first thing if the room was good enough for me, which was very, very kind. People in villages generally are not as focused on material things. They're more focused on their relationships and on love and putting their time into spending time with that family and doing things together. It's changing a lot, but there are some people in Indonesia that still rather remain poor and be together in the village than have their family unit split up, where they have one brother in one city and somebody else in another city. So keeping that family together is very, very important in a lot of traditional Indonesian cultures. Not in everyone, but in Java, it's very important. Hello, teman-teman. Thank you for coming back. We're now going to go into a little bit about adjectives and word order in Indonesian. So this is a very, very important lesson, and it's very similar to English. There's just one small difference. So you ready? Let's check it out. So in Indonesian, the word order in sentences is very similar to English. So you have your basic structure where you have your subject, your verb, and then your object, just like in English. And then the subject and the object are both nouns. So it's a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. So here's an example sentence in English. Jack ate Korean food. In our sentence, we have Jack and food are our nouns, and Korean is an adjective. It's describing the food. It's describing the type of food. So you could also say Jack ate Mexican food, Jack ate spicy food, Jack ate delicious food. All of those would be adjectives describing the food. In Indonesian, the structure is very similar, but the adjective comes after the noun. So Jack makan, our verb, makanan, our object, and then Korea is our adjective. So in the sentence, we have Jack and makanan are our nouns. Korea is our adjective, and it's describing the food. In English, just remember, as you guys know, adjectives come before. In Indonesian, they come after. On the next part, we're going to go over some more examples. All right, so here is a delicious bowl of haejeongguk. This is some Korean food. And if you've been to Korea, you've hopefully had this. If you've not, then I hope you can try it. It's a very, very delicious food, but it is pork, so it's not halal. In English, you have the adjective that comes before the noun, just like we learned and just like you learned in your English classes way back in the day. So Korean is our adjective, and then our noun is food. In Indonesian, we have our noun and then the adjective. So how would you say this in Indonesian? In English, it's Korean food. In Indonesian, what is it? So we have makanan is food, remember. And then makan is our verb. You add an to make it into a noun, food. Makanan Korea, right? Makanan Korea. Makanan is food, and Korea is the adjective describing the food. Here's one more, okay? So in English, we have the adjective and noun. You can probably look at this and guess what it is. It's Mexican food, right? So in Indonesian, we have our noun and our adjective. And then here's our main noun right here, makanan. How would you say this in Indonesian? Bingo, makanan Mexico. Makanan Mexico. So they spell Mexico differently than we do in English. And then you have your noun always before your adjective. One more. Okay, adjective and noun. In English, it's Japanese food. In Indonesian, what is it? How would you say this in Indonesian? Makanan Jepang. Right? Makanan Jepang. Bingo. Excellent. And then satu lagi. Fried rice. Fried rice. In Indonesian, we have our noun and our adjective. So here we go. Here's our nouns. Here's our adjectives. How would you say fried rice in Indonesian? If you're not sure, pause it for a second and then put it together in your brain. Say it out loud a couple of times before you keep going, just so you get the structure down. How would you say, fried rice in Indonesian? Bingo, nasi goreng. Bagus. Well done. And then here we have ayam. So ayam is this food right here. It's chicken. So how would you say fried chicken in Indonesian? Remember, fried rice is nasi goreng. If chicken is ayam, how do you say fried chicken? Bingo, ayam goreng. Excellent. All right, and then here is another one. So our adjective and our noun. In English, just hot coffee. We're not going to get super technical here. We're just going to keep it really simple. Hot coffee. So in Indonesian, how do you say the word coffee? Do you remember? Bingo, kopi, kopi. So there's your Indonesian noun right there. And then here's our adjectives. So how would you say hot coffee in Indonesian? How would you say it? Bingo, kopi panas. Excellent. All right, and then one final tip. Maybe you caught this in some of the other videos in this section, but just a really, really quick reminder. So in English, we say Korean food, Mexican food, and Japanese food, right? In Indonesian, makanan Korea, makanan Mexico, makanan Japan. So Korea, Mexico, and Japan, these are the names of all of the countries in Bahasa Indonesia. In English, we turn the noun Japan, Japang, into an adjective, Japanese, to describe something from Japan, just like with Mexican and Korean. In Indonesian, they don't do that. You know it's an adjective based on the word order. So if Japan, Mexico, Korea, America, Australia, Inggris comes after some sort of a noun, that's when you know it's an adjective. And they're talking about that thing from the country. Hope that makes sense. Now, let's go visit Bu Ade in her canteen. All right, so we are off to kantin Bu Ade. Ayo makan. So, sini Bu Ade. Selamat siang, selamat siang. She's being super nice and friendly with a big smile. She's excited to see us. Now, what do we say to her? Selamat what? Selamat siang or selamat sore? Which one is correct? Hopefully this is easy for you. If you're having trouble with these greetings, go back to the first part of the lesson, go back to Unit 1 and review these. Selamat siang, Bu. Perfect. Now, Bu Ade is going to ask you if you've already had lunch. So remember, how do you ask someone if they've already eaten? If you've already had lunch. Belum makan or sudah makan? Question. Which one is it? Sudah makan, meaning have you had lunch yet? Have you eaten lunch yet? But you haven't eaten yet. So what are you going to say? You have not had lunch. Sudah or belum? Which one? Belum, right? Belum, Bu. Saya belum makan. Belum makan? Waduh. Makan apa? Makan apa? Want to have some fried rice. You can't go wrong with some fried rice. So, how do we say fried rice in Bahasa Indonesia? We just learned it a couple minutes ago. So, minta, I request, or I would like. What? Minta, which two words? Minta nasi goreng. Minta nasi goreng, Bu. Okay. Minum apa? Harus minum ya. It's really, really hot, so you need something to drink. You want some hot tea. So minta apa? Minta teh putih dingin panas. Which two words finish the sentence? Minta teh panas. Bagus. Sebentar ya. Boom. You just got your food on the way. All right, and then now we're going to jump into a really quick cultural note. So we learned this verb, makan, and then sama-sama. So we learned sama-sama way, way, way back. And then makan, remember, means to eat. So what do you think this means? Makan sama-sama. Might be a little bit strange, but remember, Indonesian has a lot of context associated with the language. And a lot of the words are used many times and they have many different meanings. So makan sama-sama, saying eat, same. Confusing, right? Maybe, but let's think about it for a second. So eating together in Indonesia is a huge deal for the locals, for local people. And it's not just eating at the same time, it's having the same meal. So you're eating the same type of food. And you're eating family style. So if you go to a restaurant, generally with friends or with your host family or whoever you go with, you're going to eat makan sama-sama. So you're going to get one big meal, and then you're all going to share it together. So this has satay, which is meat on a stick, usually satay ayam, which is chicken satay, or satay kambing, which is goat. This is satay kambing. It's very delicious. Nasi putih. Nasi is your noun. Rice. Putih means white, so white rice. Kerupuk, which is your cracker, it's kind of a rice cracker, they're delicious. Soto kambing, so soto is soup, kambing is goat, so goat soup. And then kecap, which is kind of a sweet soy sauce, a little bit thick, and tambah, which is a spicy sauce. So generally, locals will share this meal together. And if you go to another type of restaurant, so you have Masakan Padang, it's similar to like going to a home country cooking restaurant in the US. So they have a lot of traditional Indonesian food, and generally it's kind of like a buffet where you say, oh, I want tempeh, and I want some fish, and I want some vegetables, and you just kind of build your own plate, and then they'll charge you for it based on how much food you get. It's really, really delicious. This comes from Padang, which is a city in West Sumatra, and I've not been there, but I would love to go, and I hope to go later this year or early next year. So if you want to have some of the best local food in Indonesia, go to Padang in Sumatra Barat, West Sumatra, and give it a shot. Keep studying hard and don't give up. Study hard, and terima kasih for joining this lesson. All right, so this next section, we are going to learn 3 very important phrases and words. Tidak, tidak boleh, and jangan. So anytime you want to tell anybody off or tell somebody no, you wanted to tell somebody to get away from you or turn down that marriage proposal, this is the lesson for you. Somebody gives you $1 million, this is probably not the lesson for you. First, we got a pop quiz. So 5 super easy questions, and you've got this. So, sudah makan means you have recently eaten. True or false? Sudah makan. So, just a simple sentence or simple phrase, sudah makan. It's true. Remember, sudah is in the past, makan, eat. So, past eat means you've already or recently eaten. What is a small shop or a restaurant called in Indonesia? Warung, wayang, wastafel, or wates? A small shop. Small shop is a warung. Okay. Next, in Indonesian, the adjective comes blank the noun. If you can't remember, here is a little bit of a tip. The adjective comes before or after in Indonesian. Comes after, right? Bingo. And number 4, what do Indonesians usually say or do before an important task or work? Kopi hitam, kopi belum, kopi susu, kopi dulu. Which one is a very important and key phrase for Indonesians before they start doing work or before they start some sort of a task? It is kopi dulu. And then, true or false, makan sama-sama means to eat alone. True or false? Makan sama-sama. False. Makan jomblo, makan by yourself. I don't think that's a phrase. Be really sad. Indonesians will try to join you if you're eating by yourself. And not to bother you, it's more just to go, hey, we know people generally like to eat with other people when they eat, so we're just going to try and show you some love and sit and talk to you while you're enjoying your meal, and hope you like it more. So, how did you do? If you got all 5, well done. You got 3 or 4, good job. And if you got a couple of them, don't worry about it. Go back and practice. Selamat belajar. All right, so in this part of the lesson, I'm going to be using more Indonesian and more Indonesian vocabulary, okay? If you aren't sure about the words, you can look on Google Translate or watch this several times so you get a better understanding and a better feel of the words as you start to pick them up. Okay, so negation with verbs and adjectives. Indonesian has 2 main ways to make verbs and adjectives negative. So saying not verb, so like do not eat, for example, or not red, not black, not fat, not skinny, with adjectives. In Indonesian, you would use tidak to negate adjectives and verbs. And tidak comes before the adjective or the verb. Tidak comes before. So, here's an example. Okay, ini espresso. Espresso. Okay? How can we describe the coffee? So, if you see kopi espresso, bagaimana? Bagaimana kopi espresso? Kata sifat yang mana? Alright, so for this part of the lesson, I'm going to use more Indonesian vocabulary. If you're having trouble with some of the words, then watch the video a couple of times or write them down, make some flashcards, and be sure to practice as much as you can. Remember, it can take a lot of time and a lot of effort to learn a language. If it's challenging, don't let the challenge stop you. Keep going and keep studying every day, and you will be getting better as long as you push yourself. Don't give up. Semangat. Okay, so negation with verbs and adjectives in Indonesian. So Indonesian has two main ways to negate verbs and adjectives, so making them negative, like not something. Tidak and jangan. So tidak is used to negate both adjectives and verbs, and tidak comes before the adjective or the verb. So here's an example. Ini kopi espresso. Ini espresso. Okay. Dan sini ada kata sifat. Kata sifat. Adjectives. Okay. How can we describe the coffee? Kata sifat yang ini. Okay. So itu mungkin kecil, ya, kecil, panas, pahit, right? The sugar, gula di sini di samping, so itu pahit, and maybe that's it, right? How can we describe it using tidak? So let's use tidak to describe this coffee with these adjectives. Here's an example. Tidak besar. So, espresso, tidak besar. The espresso is not big. What else can we say? Pause the video for a second and think about it. So, we can also say tidak dingin, right? Itu panas, tidak dingin. Itu tidak manis, because it's pahit. And also, tidak pedas and tidak asin. Okay. And then here's another example, right? So, ini kopi es. Kopi es. So, ice, es, kopi, coffee. Kopi es. How can we describe kopi es? Kopi es is what? Besar, right? Itu besar. Because it's big, much bigger than the kopi espresso. And es kopi, kopi es, dingin, right? And manis. And that's probably it for now. So how can we describe it now using tidak? So 5 ways over here. So we would say tidak kecil, right? Tidak kecil, not small. And then what else would we say? Pause the video for a second and think about it. Yell them out at your computer or wherever you are, and then we'll check. We could say tidak panas, right? Tidak panas, not hot. Tidak pahit, not bitter or not unsweet. Tidak pedas, not spicy. And tidak asin, not salty. Excellent. So you use tidak with adjectives, and it's pretty easy. Now let's do it with verbs. And it's pretty much the same. It's very, very simple and very straightforward. So tidak also comes before the verb. tidak makan, tidak minum, tidak boleh, right? So here are some verbs. We have makan, minum, melihat, just to see, membaca, read, menulis, write, menonton, watch, merokok, smoke. Feel free to write these verbs down or make flashcards with them. You'll use them every single day when you're in Indonesia, especially if you're talking to people. Okay, so this is me and Pak Aris. So I'm saying, oh Pak, makan, makan Pak, ayo makan. Makan apa? Makan apa? Ini pork meat, makanan Batak. So Batak people are from North Sumatra. They're Christian and they eat a lot of pork. And also people in Bali eat a lot of pork. In Indonesia, they call pork B2. B, letter B, B2 is 2. B2. Makan B2, Pak. Makan B2. Aduh. Saya tidak makan B2. Saya tidak makan B2. I don't eat pork. Saya tidak makan B2. Aduh. Aduh. Tidak makan B2? You don't eat pork? Saya tidak boleh makan B2. Remember? So, tidak makan, no eat, or don't eat. Tidak minum, no drink, don't drink. Tidak boleh, no allowed, not allowed, cannot. So, saya tidak boleh makan B2. So tidak boleh is a very good phrase to use in Indonesian. If you don't want to do something, you can just say tidak boleh. Saya tidak boleh means I am not allowed to do that. I cannot do that. Okay. Mengerti. Okay. And then here's one more example of using boleh and something else. So sini bis. So this is a bus in Indonesia. And I am going to the train station. So saya ke means to, and stasiun is station. So saya ke stasiun. Okay. Getting on the bus. Here we go. And boom, I'm on the bus. Now let's say, for example, I want to smoke on the bus. I want to smoke on the bus, which in Indonesia, if you're in the villages, it's very, very common. People will smoke on the buses. It can be very annoying, but it's just what people do. And it's very, very hard to get them to break this habit. So, Pak, I'm talking to the driver up there, Pak. And then remember, to smoke is merokok, to smoke. So, how am I going to say a sentence using these three words? So, Pak, merokok saya boleh. What am I going to say? Try to put the sentence together. Pak, boleh saya merokok? Boleh saya merokok? Pak, may or permission for me, I, to smoke. And the driver has no problem. So what is he going to say? No problem. Boleh or tidak boleh. No problem. Boleh or tidak boleh. Boleh, go right ahead. Boleh or silakan, you may. You can smoke. But ibu, right here, does. Jangan, 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 jangan. So you're probably guessing, oh, this is that third word we're going to learn. Jangan. And yes, it is. Jangan means do not, or absolutely do not do something. No way, pal. All right, so here we've got jangan, and jangan means you are not allowed to do something, or do not do something is probably a better translation. So it's a very strong phrase. Jangan, do not do something. It is an imperative and it's a command, and it's used before a verb like tidak. Sometimes Indonesians will just say jangan, and they'll just wag their finger, or they'll sometimes shake their head in disgust, Like, do not do that. Absolutely do not do that. So, tidak, for example, saya tidak merokok means I don't smoke, right? Saya tidak merokok. And then tidak boleh here means you may not, or you are not allowed to do something. And then jangan over here means do not do this. You should not do this. It is not allowed to do this. It's a very, very strong word. So it's a command. If somebody's bothering you, if you're walking around on the street, you can say, oh, jangan. Jangan means don't. Stop bothering me. Leave me alone. It's a very, very useful and very handy word to have. All right, so we're going to finish this section off with a quick cultural note. We're going to talk about Indonesian plumbing and the water situation in Indonesia. So here's one last practice example using some of the verbs and the negation that we just learned in this part of the lesson. So if you go to Jakarta or Bali or even a nicer hotel, like a 4-star, 5-star hotel, do not drink the water. Do not drink the tap water. Even if the hotel does have a filtration system, still, I would not trust the water coming from the cities. I would always buy bottled water, and usually the hotels will provide you with some kind of bottled water in your room. If you go out to a village, or you're in a local or more rural area, the locals will drink bottled water, or it's called air galon. And you can get this, usually they'll have this at their house, or you can get bottles of water from a convenience store. So it's kind of a problem in Indonesia, especially in rural Indonesia, where people have water, but generally they have to buy it and they don't have it in their house. You can still bathe, you can still use it to flush the toilet, but in terms of drinking it, it's generally not good to do. It's not treated, and you can get really sick from drinking bad water. So I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. I'm trying to say something. What would I say to you if I'm trying to tell you, do not drink the water in Indonesian? How would you say that? You would say very strongly, jangan minum air. Jangan minum air. So this is a very, very strong phrase. It's saying, do not drink water. You should drink water in Indonesia. Obviously, it's really hot and it's humid. But in the hotel room, don't drink the tap water. Make sure that you drink bottled water, or you drink water that has been sterilized or is safe for your consumption, so you don't get sick and you don't ruin your trip. And with that, we have finished this part of the lesson. Keep studying hard, keep practicing, and thanks for joining in. Terima kasih dan selamat belajar. All right, so now we're going to dive into some more adjectives. We're going to talk more about feelings, talk about our feelings, and flavors and tastes. Ooh, maybe some people like classic rock. Maybe some people like cold pizza. Maybe you like both. Maybe you're old like me. Probably, if so. So we've got a new question word in this section. We're going to use this word a lot. So it's kind of a big word, and try to say it first. Bagaimana. Bagaimana. If you say it quicker, bagaimana, bagaimana, the stress is going to go on this syllable right here. Bagaimana. Okay. How many syllables are in this word? Bagaimana. Bagaimana. How many syllables are there? So there's 4, right? Bagaimana. And where's the stress? Where's the stress? It's on the last one. Bagaimana. Bagaimana. In some parts of Indonesia, they'll put it on the 3rd syllable, bagaimana. In some, they'll put it on the 4th, bagaimana. So as long as it's not on the 1st or 2nd, then it's not that big of a deal. Most Indonesian, at least in formal Indonesian, the Indonesian when I was learning it in class, for the 3 months that I was in class, they taught us stress goes at the end, primarily on the last syllable, but sometimes in other parts of Indonesia and in villages, they'll just kind of move the stress to the 2nd to the last or to the last. It all just depends. So people will have different accents and people will speak the language a little bit differently, but for the most part, it's easily understood anywhere you go. So just practice and say the word bagaimana, and if you get your vowel sounds right, you're good to go. This word, bagaimana, is normally used with tastes and with feelings, just like in English. Okay? Bagaimana. All right, so now we're going to talk more about adjectives, and we're going to primarily talk about food vocabulary. So, adjectives used with food. So, word for taste in Bahasa Indonesia is rasa, rasa. All right? And then try to say these words right after me, shadow, and then practice them making sentences or on a forum or somewhere, and try to describe as many foods or think of as many foods as you can as you say these words. So, busuk, busuk means rotten, rotten. Segar, segar is fresh. Pedas, pedas, spicy. Manis, manis, sweet. Asin, asin is sour. Hambar, hambar means bland or boring or no taste. Enak means delicious. It can also mean comfortable or pleasing. So if you're on a bus and there's air conditioning, or you're on the train and it's super hot outside but it's nice and cool, enak. And then next you have pahit, which is bitter. And then a very, very strong word, menjijikan, which is disgusting. So if you use this word, then you basically be ready to fight. And if you say it to an ibu, then she is probably going to come after you. Hati hati. And then here we've got more adjectives describing feelings. Okay, so the word for feeling is rasa, rasa. Okay, then enak, just learn this on the other one, means delicious. But for a feeling, it describes comfortable. So if you're on the train, or if you're at home, or you're someplace where you're happy, rasa enak. Okay? Next, kenyang means to have enough. And this means if you've eaten lunch, or you've had something, or had something to drink, and you don't want any more and you're good, kenyang, kenyang, saya kenyang. I'm happy, I'm good, I don't need anything else. You can say cukup, saya kenyang, udah cukup, saya kenyang. All right. Next, lapar, which is hungry. Senang, happy. Sedih, sad. Merah is happy or angry, Takut, afraid. Yakin is confident or sure. And then last, hebat. So hebat is like awesome or great. It's a very, very strong word. It's a really good word to use. So you meet somebody and they speak English, you can go, oh, hebat, bahasa Inggris, hebat. Like, your English is awesome. All right, so now we're going to have a quick review, and we're going to practice a little bit of what we've just learned and some of the other stuff from before. So this is a food cart that I used to go to often in Bandung. If you visit Bandung, you go to Jalan Braga, you have to go to this place, Bubur Ayam Braga. It's down an alley, there's a Starbucks nearby, and this ibu has had her food cart set up there for like over 7 or 8 years. The last time I was there was 2017. I went this year in 2024, and her food cart was still there, and her bubur ayam was awesome, just like I remembered, and she remembered me. I don't know if it was me or another Peace Corps volunteer, but when we were in Bandung, we would always go and check out her place. So if you go to Bandung and you want to try local food, her bubur ayam, her chicken rice porridge is absolutely awesome. Okay? So, it's early in the morning, maybe 7 o'clock, and selamat pagi, she's excited to see us. We're hungry and we're going to go get some breakfast. So, she greets us. Now we need to reply back, right? So we're at her food cart, and what are we going to say? What are we going to say? We need to be polite. Selamat pagi, Ibu. So remember, always, 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 first thing, greetings. Selamat pagi, selamat siang, selamat sore, selamat malam, all of those. Now we need to ask her, how are you? How are you, Ibu? So what are we going to say? Apa kabar, ibu? Right? Selamat pagi, apa kabar? This is just to be polite. And then kabar baik, she's excited. I'm good, I'm doing fine. Apa kabar? Probably gonna ask us the same question. So now, what are we gonna say? Word starts with S. Maybe threw you a curveball here. Sehat, right? Sehat means I'm hungry or I'm healthy. Hungry is lapar. Mungkin lapar juga. Sehat. Alhamdulillah. So she's excited. Makan. Like, you want to eat? You want some breakfast? Okay. Yeah. Now we need to finish this sentence. The first part. All right? It's kind of a long sentence, but we need to put in our order. So what are we going to say? Our first word, capitalized. So take a guess. And it's only 3 of them. So one is not used. Boleh saya minta? Minta apa? And then we want chicken porridge. And if you need a hint, here it is. Braga is the name of the street. And the other 2 words are the food. Boleh saya minta chicken porridge. And remember, word order is going to be opposite in Indonesian, just like on the sign over here. Boleh saya minta bubur ayam, right? Boleh saya minta bubur ayam? Pedas, tidak pedas? Your call. Pedas, tidak pedas? So however you want it, she'll fix it up for you. It was probably a good call either way. Okay. Sebentar. Remember, sebentar. Hold on just 1 second. It'll be just a moment. Now, ibu's gonna feed you, right? Selamat makan. Boom. Here you go. This is her bubur ayam, and it's absolutely delicious. Now, you've got your food, and you can say thank you. So what are you going to say? How do you say thank you in Bahasa Indonesia? Terima kasih or terima kasih ibu if you want to be really polite. Sama-sama. And you could also say it in Sundanese, but we'll get into that later. Terima kasih is perfectly fine. Bagaimana rasa? So she's boosting herself up. She's like, oh, so how is it? Right? In case you don't remember, bagaimana rasa. Bagaimana rasa. And then you really want to say it. You really want to say how good it is. So what would you say? Enak, right? Go, enak. She's going to be super happy. Wow, you like my food. You just made Ibu's day. Well done. All right, so now here's a quick cultural note with a story. Okay, so ini Pak Juhana. Pak Juhana is the principal at my school. Dave, masak pancake. Ini pancakeku. This is my pancakes. This is the first time I made pancakes. This was in like 2011, 2012. It didn't turn out very good. So, this is from 2011. My pancake skills did not improve over those 4 years. When I made my pancakes and they came out like this, and Pak Juhana saw them, he literally said, "Apa ini?" and he started laughing. Apa ini? Like, what the hell is this? It's like, oh, saya kenyang, saya kenyang. He's not going to say no. Generally, Indonesians will not say no, but they'll say no in an indirect way. So, saya kenyang, I'm full, I'm good. Second time I made them, this was in September, and he was like, okay, it's better, it's edible. Enak, saying, yeah, it's good, but not really good. Enter Bu Ade. So Bu Ade said, oh, boy, I'm going to show you up. Saya masak pancake. And she showed me up. Let me show you. She put some apples in there, put some cinnamon. It was absolutely fantastic. So pancake Bu Ade, hebat, hebat, hebat. Mantap. They were so good. The whole school was so happy. So she gave some to Pak Juhana. Selamat makan, Pak Juhana. And Pak Juhana was a very, very happy man. Wah, hebat. Enak sekali, Bu. Terima kasih, Bu. Sama-sama. So, Ibu's food, you go to an Indonesian house or an Indonesian home or a restaurant, and there is an Ibu, a woman who's cooking. Generally, Indonesians will take a lot of pride in her food. So, families will rarely eat out. They'll usually eat at home. Some of it is because they don't have a lot of money. Some of it's because they don't have a lot of options. They'll go maybe to a warung to have like a quick meal, but in terms of having a big family gathering at a restaurant, generally not super, super common in the villages. In the cities where people have more money, it's much more common. Okay? Ibu will generally cook for the whole family in the village, might be for 8 or 9 people, so it's a lot of people, and she spends most of the day in the kitchen. And then if you go to a school or in an office, generally Ibu will cook and they'll prepare the food for events. So if there's a big school meeting or if there's like a school sports day or some sort of an event at the school, and the Ibu and the female teachers and the female admin staff will generally cook and they'll prepare a lot of food for all the participants in the school and the neighbors. So Ibu are very, very competitive about their food, and they want to be the best cook around, and they want their food to be known as being the best. So if you say to an Ibu, oh, makanan tidak enak, or makanan hambar, it's a big insult. It's like saying your food sucks and like you suck as a person. Cooking is so important to Indonesian women generally. So if they cook something for you and they've put a lot of effort into it, then you should generally say it is delicious. Okay? You want to tell me my pancakes suck, please go right ahead. They deserve it. And be glad you didn't eat them. And I have not made them since. If an Ibu cooks something and you don't like it, they're generally going to feel really sad because they want you to be happy, they want you to be well fed, and it's almost like they've failed, where they've worked really hard, they've tried to do their best, and it didn't work out. And they'll generally feel bad about it for a long time. So you're better off if they make something and you don't really like it, at least try it and say, oh, it's pretty good, or oh, it's decent, but don't force yourself to eat it, but be mindful of how you say no. All right, with that, keep studying hard, and selamat belajar. See you in the next lesson. All right, so we have another part of our lesson, 2.7. We're going to go into pakai, this word right here, pakai, and then 2 other very important words, tambah and tanpa. Pakai, tambah, tanpa. Okay, ayo, mulai. All right, so now I'm going to go into a little bit of depth about the new vocabulary words in this section. So we're going to start off with pakai right here, pakai, and it's a verb. And pakai means to use. So it's an umbrella verb, is what I call it. I don't know if that's the exact term for it, but it's a verb that you use with many different types of nouns. And you'll see an example, or actually a bunch of examples over here in a second with pakai. Okay, so pakai is a verb and it means to use. Sometimes though, it's not going to be 100% clear if you see pakai plus a noun. Just hold that thought for a second, and I'll go into that in just a little bit. Next, we have tambah, which is to add. So like nasi tambah lagi. This is a really common expression. This is one of the cultural notes. Nasi tambah lagi. So take more rice, add more rice, keep eating. And then tanpa right here is an adjective, and it means without. So tanpa means without. Tambah means add. You can probably see how it gets confusing. So tanpa goes in front of the noun that it's describing. Tanpa gula, without sugar, or tanpa cinta, without love. And pakai being the umbrella verb, what I call it, I don't know if that's right. Again, you have all of these nouns over here that are used with pakai, and then they have these meanings in English. But sometimes if you say pakai plus the noun, it makes sense, but it's not always crystal clear. So for example, pakai gula means with sugar, use sugar. So it's not 100% perfectly clear that it's going to be how much sugar or a lot of sugar. Just saya suka kopi pakai gula. I like coffee with sugar. All right, pakai HP, use your phone. Okay, make a call or to SMS to search for something on the internet. Pakai kaki, to walk. Pakai ballpoint atau pakai spidol. Ballpoint is a ballpoint pen. Spidol is a marker. Makes sense. Pakai alat-alat makanan. Alat-alat makanan are like tools. So use tools for eating, use things for eating, silverware. Okay. Pakai tangan, use your hands to do something by hand. So pakai baju, wear clothing, use clothes. Pakai obat, use medicine, to take medicine in English. Pakai sabun, to use soap, wash something with soap. And then pakai cinta, to do something with love. So you use this pakai cinta, and you go to a restaurant, you say, oh, ibu pakai cinta, and you smile, she'll be super, super happy. Because you're saying, oh, you made this with love. All right, so now we've got listening and pronunciation practice, and this is very, very important with two of the words that we just learned, with tambah and tanpa. They sound very similar, and a lot of Indonesians will pronounce them, especially if you're asking for kopi. Somebody might say, like, oh, pakai kopi atau kopi tambah lagi, kopi tanpa. So it's really, really important to get the pronunciation down between tambah and tanpa, especially when you're listening. So I'll do my best to sound as local as I can. I'm going to give you a couple of listening tests. You know the answer, just say it out. You can choose tambah or tanpa. Okay. Saya minum kopi tanpa gula. All right. Saya minum kopi tanpa gula. Which one is it? It is tanpa gula. Sip. Okay, keduanya. Tambah gula merah, Pak. Tambah gula merah, Pak. Tambah gula merah, Pak. This one is tambah gula merah. Gula merah is red sugar, or like kind of brown sugar, I guess. Tambah, like add. So give me some brown sugar, sir. Or put in some brown sugar into my coffee, sir. Number 3, we have nasi tambah lagi. Nasi tambah lagi. This one you should get no problem. Tambah. And then keempatnya tambah sambal. Saya tidak makan pedas. Or tanpa sambal. Saya tidak makan pedas. Which one is it? You can probably guess based on the context. It is tanpa sambal. Saya tidak makan pedas. The one on the right. Okay. You got all 4? Excellent job. You're getting it. Your listening skills are good. If you got 3, keep practicing. Go through it again. If you got 1 or 2, don't give up. Semangat. Semangat, semangat. Dan selamat belajar. And here's a big, big culture tip. It's going to make Ibu smile all the way to the moon and back, and probably all the way back to the moon. And Ibu's going to be the happiest person in Indonesia. So, Ibus love it when you tell them that their food is delicious, but we're going to use some of the brand new vocabulary that we just learned. Okay? So, ibu, remember, is plural. You can say ibu, love it, but ibu, just to really, really emphasize that many women or many ibu in Indonesia. So, pakai is our new verb to use. Tambah means to add, right? And then we have all of these words over here. So, pakai cinta is made with love. Pakai cinta. So if you tell Ibu, oh, ini pakai cinta, this is made with love. She's going to be so happy. Oh, I'm so glad you like my food. So, when you want to make her day, selamat makan, you get your food, you can say thank you, terima kasih, right? That's good. She's probably going to ask you, how is your food? Bagaimana rasa? You can say enak, and that's good. But now, go for the critical hit. Make her smile and make her the happiest person in Indonesia. So, what can you say? You can say, Ibu pakai cinta, Ibu pakai cinta. Like, wow, Ibu pakai cinta. Wow, you made this with love. Oh, she's going to be so happy. And yes, you're going to have the best food in Indonesia. She's going to be very impressed. One, that you know this phrase, and two, that you are eating local food, and she's going to be telling everybody and probably want to get a photo with you on Instagram or Facebook, and it's going to be the talk of the village or the talk of wherever you are for a very long time. So you made a huge impact by doing this. Congratulations. All right, so now we're back to buade. Selamat siang, it's lunchtime. Sudah makan. Uh-oh, those are two dangerous words in Indonesian. Don't forget, sudah makan. Somebody asks you, well, you can't get away from it. Sudah makan nasi, bu? Hey, tambah lagi, tambah lagi. Take more, eat more. So when you bow out, when you're done, you can say, oh, saya kenyang. White flag, get that French flag out and just wave it around. I give up, I surrender. You can say, saya kenyang bu, or saya sudah makan, saya kenyang. I'm satisfied, I'm done, I can't eat anymore. Okay, maybe she'll do that. In this example, she will, but sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just be really pushy and want you to eat more. Keep studying, keep practicing, and you will make Ibu super happy, and you will make yourself even happier by studying and learning Bahasa Indonesia. Selamat belajar. Semangat. All right, so now we're getting closer to the end of lesson 2. We've got suka dan tidak suka. So, I'm not speaking Russian. If you speak Russian, извините, я не говорю suka. Я говорю suka. Okay? So, remember, the stress goes on the first syllable. Suka. And the word suka in Bahasa Indonesia means to like something. So it's used with actions, with people, with animals, with things, with virtually anything that you like. Okay? So, saya suka nonton film. I like to watch movies. Saya suka nasi goreng. I like fried rice. Saya suka kamu. I like you. Saya suka teh. I love tea. Suka is a strong word. If you say it to a person, it can be kind of a strong way of saying that you like someone. You can also say like, oh, ia orang bagus, which is maybe more of a general way. Suka maybe has a stronger meaning to it, like you really like somebody. And now we're going to look at some more examples on the next slide. All right, so now we're going to go into a little bit about the structure, struktur, of how to use suka in a sentence. So in English, it's very simple, subject plus like plus a verb. If you're talking about verbs, I like to eat, you like to drink, we like to play, she likes to read, right? In Indonesian, structure is exactly the same. Subject, suka, and your verb, kata kerja. Saya suka makan, kamu suka minum, kita suka main, dia suka baca. Okay? For an object, for a thing, it's exactly the same in English. I like pizza, he likes computers, we like cars. And in Indonesian, it's exactly the same. Saya suka objek pizza, suka computer, suka mobil. Okay? Very, very simple. Very straightforward. Now, to be negative, all you do is in English, you add don't, right? I don't like, you don't like, we don't like. In Indonesian, it's exactly the same. Tidak suka. Tidak, negative, no. Suka, like. Saya tidak suka makan. I don't like to eat. Kamu tidak suka minum. You don't like to drink. Dia tidak suka baca. He or she doesn't like to read. And for an object, in English, in Indonesian, it's exactly the same as well. So, subject plus tidak suka plus object. Saya, I tidak suka, don't like pizza. Dia tidak suka computer. Kita tidak suka mobil. That's it. Super straightforward, super easy. Write some sentences and practice using this. Both of them. With verbs and with objects. Now we've got a classic textbook activity, I guess is what I call this. Okay, we're going to practice using suka right here. So nama, dia, gugun. Okay. So what sentence can we make? Let's use these words here in the word box. And then here's the structure right up here. Subject, suka, verb, object. All right. So subject, blue, suka, verb, purple, sepeda, object. What sentence can we make? Gugun suka naik sepeda. Okay, bagus. And next, dia, remember, is he or she. And then here we go. What sentence can we make from this? Dia suka main bola basket. Bagus. Okay. And pacuhana, right? Here's pacuhana. And then here's our structure. What are we going to use? And how are we going to make a sentence with these words in the word box? Any guesses? So we can say, Pacuhana suka kerja, right? He likes to work. Pacuhana suka kerja, karena ada grinder. He's working. Pakai grinder. Gave the answer away. Or we can say dia, right? And if we use pakai, remember we need to have some sort of an object. Dia suka pakai grinder. So pacuhana atau dia suka pakai grinder. He likes to use the grinder. Kind of a different meaning, but you can still understand, okay, he likes using the grinder. He probably likes to do work as well. And then last, aduh, I gave it away. So how would we make a sentence with this? Went too far. So our subject, and then what do we do next? Subject right here, and then suka, right? And then we have our verb, and then our object. So buade suka masak nasi goreng. Buade suka masak, likes to cook or likes to make nasi goreng. Or we can use dia. Dia suka masak nasi goreng. Okay. There's one more. So guru is teacher. So lots of teachers. Guru. All of the teachers. Guru. And then remember, nasi goreng is fried rice. Goreng means fry. Gorengan, the suffix, means a fried thing. Okay? So a fried thing is a gorengan. Just remember, makan, makanan, minum, minuman. Goreng can be fry, or it can be fried as an adjective. Gorengan is a fried food or a fried thing. So, what could we say? What sentence could we make here with gorengan? Guru-guru suka makan gorengan, right? Guru-guru, the teachers, suka makan gorengan. Or guru-guru suka makanan goreng, right? Suka makanan goreng. Suka makan gorengan, like to eat gorengan, like to eat the fried food, literally what you're saying. Suka makanan goreng, like fried food. And then now, time to order from Ibu Yupaika. Okay, so itu Ibu Yupaika. Selamat siang. Sebentar ya. Sebentar. Uh-oh. This guy showed up at the warung. How do you reply? What's he going to say? Okay or baik, right? Baik, baik. So, Obama's still very popular in Indonesia. And there are restaurants in Malang that are called Bakso Obama or Obama Restaurant, and they have bakso because he supposedly loves to eat bakso, and it was his favorite food when he lived in Jakarta as a kid. So, makan apa pak? You can probably guess what he's going to get. I miss my elementary school days. So, di sini, di menu, the restaurant, namanya warung wareg. They have nasi goreng, mie goreng, bakso, and kopi and teh. So, bakso is what he wants. So how would you reply? You're at a restaurant, you see bakso on the menu, and you want to order it. How would you do this in Indonesian? Boleh saya makan bakso, Bu? Boleh saya makan bakso, Bu? And if you aren't sure, you can go back or you can take this and pause it a couple of times and just practice over and over again, write it down, and just get this down. Boleh saya makan bakso, Bu? Boleh. It's a very polite way to ask. Minum apa? How do you reply? So, minum ini. Minta teh, Bu. So you can say minta bakso, minta teh. That's perfectly fine. Either way or both. You can say makan bakso, minum teh. That's also okay. They'll understand. But minta is better because it's a little bit more polite. Suka pedas, pakai gula. These are words that you probably know by now. Suka pedas, pakai gula. I want sweet tea, but I don't want spicy food. So how would you reply? Sweet tea, spicy food. Minta teh pakai gula, bakso tidak pedas. Minta teh pakai gula, teh pakai gula, bakso tidak pedas. Okay, sebentar ya. Silakan. Boom. Sorry for the poor editing. I am not the best at using this, but hopefully you can get the idea and get a chuckle out of it. How would you reply? You get your food. Now what are you going to say? Terima kasih, right? She brings over your food. Oh, terima kasih. Bagaimana rasa? So she's fishing. Ibu's definitely fishing. Now, let's try to win her heart. How do we win her heart? Take 1 or 2 bites, and then what do you say? Enak, right? Enak is good, but we can do better than that. We can really, really win her heart. So what are we going to say? Ibu pakai cinta, right? Ibu pakai cinta. And this is the magic phrase. She's going to be so happy. Ibu is going to be so happy to hear pakai cinta. And I know it's not bakso, but your plate empty, silverware's crossed, you're done eating, and then sudah. Terima kasih, Ibu, right? You're finished, you're done, terima kasih. This is really when you have to say terima kasih. Sama-sama. She's going to be so happy. And boom. If you've done this, you have just ordered food in Indonesian. You can go to any restaurant, to any warung, to any place, and get yourself a meal. Congratulations. Salamat. Well done. All right, and then one culture tip. So, foto, mister, or mis, foto. You're going to hear this everywhere you go in Indonesia. Indonesians love taking photos. And most Indonesians will want to get a photo with you. I mean, if you're at the beach in Bali, at Kuta, maybe not as much, but if you're at a local beach, or you're in Yogyakarta, or you're in Malang, or if you're at Bromo, and there's a group of Indonesians hanging out, and they see you, you smile or wave, somebody will go over and break the ice, and they'll be, oh, foto, please give me a photo. I want a photo with you. So remember, when you pose, just smile, give them a big gig'em. Good old Texas Aggie, thumbs up, gig'em. Just like that. It's all you need. And it's safe, culturally appropriate, and it'll be very, very cool, hopefully for you and for them too. Even my host grandma did that. Didn't even need a teacher. They're all born Aggies. Each person that you meet in Indonesia, it's going to be different, but thumbs up is always a safe bet for a post. So if you meet somebody, they want to take a photo with you, you can just smile instead of like looking awkward or looking stiff. Give them a thumbs up and you're totally good to go. And next up, we are doing numbers. So counting, and then phone numbers, money and banking. You're going to be learning about this, uang, Indonesia, this much money. How much do you think this is in dollars? How much? Take a guess. And then this right here is the Bank of Indonesia in Bandung. It's a pretty cool building. So, thank you very much for studying in Unit 2, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Now we're moving on to Unit 3. Selamat belajar, semangat. Practice makes perfect, and don't give up. If any part of this lesson was challenging, go back through, practice it a couple of times, find some friends online to practice with, or find some Indonesians in your community. Maybe there's an Indonesian restaurant or a place where you can go, international students, if you're at a university, and go use the language. If you use the language every day for a couple of weeks, this will be very, very easy. Get out there and practice, and you will impress yourself, and you will impress everyone that you meet in Indonesia that speaks Indonesian. Semangat, yeah, and good night.